Hello, this is Allie with Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I want to talk to you, or I want to tell you the story of how I manifested this dream life that I'm living and what I learned through the process. Okay, so first I'm going to start by telling you the kind of crazy story that was essentially where that took me from where I was to where I am now, and all the fun and exciting and scary and insane things that happened along the way. And then I want to just kind of wrap up with what this kind of all means for me and maybe what I hope that you take from it. Okay? So I know that especially in the spiritual communities and the new age communities or whatever, this idea of manifestation is really exciting, and manifesting the life that you want and manifesting your dreams and all that stuff. So that's kind of what inspired me to want to make this video. Is because I know that manifesting is exciting, and I will basically be telling you how I did it all through telling this story, just so that, you know, if this is something that you're interested in and learning how to manifest and all that stuff, hopefully this will be pertinent for you. Okay, so back in 2000, and it was either 2012. Back in 2012, okay, I was living in Vancouver, one of the prettiest cities in Canada. I was living with my boyfriend and my sister, and I had a lot of dreams. Okay, I had skills. So I had my holistic nutrition diploma. I had my yoga teacher training. I was doing my life coaching. I had my Reiki training, and I had always had this desire for my entire life to help people. I really wanted to help people, and I was kind of honing in on how I wanted to do that at this point. I wanted to work with people with their nutrition. I wanted to work with their health. I wanted to work with their mental attitudes. I wanted to help people, you know, get to a place of health and happiness and satisfaction in their lives. Of course, at the same time, I wanted to find health and satisfaction and happiness in my life. And at the time, I didn't have any of those things. I was working at a yoga studio as a receptionist, making minimum wage. I was still totally dealing with eating disorder thoughts. Like, I had regained the weight, and I was at a healthy place physically, but I wasn't at a healthy place mentally. I had a relationship, but like I said, I was living with my boyfriend, and it was good, but it wasn't amazing. So like, my career wasn't where I wanted it to be, my social life wasn't where I wanted it to be, my physical life wasn't where I wanted it to be, my mental life wasn't where I wanted it to be, and I didn't feel like I could really be myself. I didn't feel understood, I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel heard, I didn't feel good in my life, really, to be honest. I was kind of chasing one thing to the other. So I remember, so my friend Ashley pulled me in, or we were cleaning up the props in the studio one day, and she's like, you know what, this is like a sacred space. We're in the yoga studio. This is a magical space. Like, this room has held a lot of intention, a lot of energy. She's like, so I want you to, like, say out loud what you want as though you have it. Okay? So I stood there and I was like, okay, Ashley, because you're magical and I love you, and I think that you're the best person ever. I'm going to do this. I totally think that I should do this. So I said out loud that I am working online in a field where I'm helping people with the skills that I have. I'm making good money, and I am doing this all with the ability to travel and live wherever I want, whatever I want, without having to take time off work. So I didn't want to be one of those, like, I wanted to travel, but I didn't want to be one of those people that, you know, works like some sort of minimum wage, like waitress or secretary job or whatever, earns money, goes traveling, spends all that money, and then comes back and starts all over again. I wanted to keep my career going while I was traveling. So that was my dream, right? And at the time, this was like completely ridiculous. I had no online experience. I am really bad at computers. I still am not very technically adept. Like I say, I had never actually used my skills. I didn't have any actual experience as a life coach or as a nutritionist, really, or a yoga teacher or any of these things. But that was my dream. That's what I wanted. Okay? So fast forward maybe few weeks, I started getting obsessed with this girl that I had met at the job that I had worked, the previous job I had worked at a raw foods restaurant, I had met this girl called Shalina, and she was running a company called Young and Raw, and she was just getting started at the time, and I became like obsessed with her. I was obsessed with her, I was obsessed with her company, and I was just like reading her, like I was on her Facebook page and on her business Facebook page every day. I was like obsessed with it. And one day she puts, and one other thing, at the time I had a blog, and I had always been a writer. I had always been a writer, like for my entire life. That was something that I remember in grade 5. My grade 5 teacher, one of the other students in my class told my grade 5 teacher that she wanted to be a writer. And my grade 5 teacher, Mrs. Lake, Larry Lake, who I still have a relationship with, and I still love her, and she totally changed my life. She said, if you want to be a writer, journal. Just start a journal. Just start journaling. And I remember hearing this conversation and thinking to myself, well, I don't want to be a writer. That's ridiculous. But I should probably start a journal. And so I did. I started a journal, and then later on that became blogging, and I had blogged for a long time. So I had just been writing. I had always been writing. And so Shalina put out an ad on Young and Raw that they were looking for guest writers to write like health articles for Young and Raw. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I sent her like 4 articles. I wrote out these 4 articles. I sent her 4 articles. And I was like, I want to be published once a week. I want to do this every month. Like, I want to be a regular contributor to your blog. And she emailed me back, and she's like, yeah, these articles are great. We love what you have to say. She posted one of my articles kind of right away. And I was like, okay, and also just in case you're looking, I'm also a holistic nutritionist. So if you need any help with like meal plans or anything that you're doing, just let me know. And she's like, funnily enough, I'm creating this program called How to Go Raw Not Crazy, and people are looking for meal plans for it, and maybe I can hire you to help me make these meal plans. So that got us started. So I was still working for the yoga studio at the time, and so I was working for the yoga studio and then coming home and doing like a couple of hours a day working for Shalina for Young and Raw, making these meal plans. And then as we went along, she just kind of started giving me more and more tasks. Like she had me start to work with kind of people who were emailing, like email inquiries, and working with the Facebook group and starting to be kind of a presence with Young and Raw, starting to work with the private Facebook group and the public Facebook group. And she was giving me all of this experience and all these jobs, and eventually I was able to quit my job at the yoga studio and start working full-time for her. And so all of a sudden I'm like, boom, I've got this online job, like I've stepped into my dream and this is happening. And around the same time in 2013, Marcus and I took a trip to Thailand. And this was the first time I had ever been to Thailand, and it was amazing. It changed my life. That was when I kind of had these light bulb moments that I needed to change how I was thinking and feeling about myself and about my health and about my body and all of these, like this is where my book came from and all that stuff. So first, we're in Thailand, I have these kind of like amazing moments, and then I'm like, we come back and I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I can't do this 9-to-5 life. I can't do this rat race. We are moving to Thailand. And Marcus was like, we're not moving to Thailand. That's ridiculous. And but within a couple of weeks, because of how I am, I convinced him that we're moving to Thailand. So then he starts trying to convince his job to let him take his job remote, because I already have my job remote, right? And so we go through all this kind of crazy stuff. And in this time, I'm kind of having these epiphanies about my life and my body and what it means and how I need to treat myself and da-da-da-da-da. And this is, like I say, where all the content from the Perception Diet started to come from. I actually was living it through myself. At the same time, my sister and Marcus are both completely breaking down in their lives. They're like totally falling apart. We're moving forward with moving to Thailand, selling out everything that we own, getting rid of everything, quitting jobs, quitting school, asking to take jobs. And it was just a crazy, crazy time, and everything was falling apart. Marcus was having panic attacks like every day, and like debilitating ones where he wasn't sleeping for like 48 hours at a time. And it was just like a really, really crazy time. And then we end up literally getting rid of all of our stuff, moving out of our apartment. Like everything we own fits in a couple of bags. We move in with Shalina. We live there for 2 weeks. She and her partner get married. It was crazy, right? And then literally the Friday, so we were supposed to leave to Thailand on a Monday. And Marcus had convinced his company to let him take his job remote. And then right after that happened, his company got sold out to a bigger company. And so now he had to reconvince his new supervisors and his new company to let him take his job remote. And he had essentially done that. And then they were like, okay, we're just waiting on HR to kind of confirm this. And so we were supposed to leave on a Monday. On the Friday before we left, they pulled him into the office and they said, basically, Marcus, we can't get you a job, or we can't get you a visa for Thailand. So you're either going to have to stay or quit and go to Thailand. And at this point, the wheels were already so in motion. We were already basically in Thailand in our minds. So Marcus decided to quit his job. And I thought, this will be great. He can take some time to just like figure out what he wants to do and it'll be fine. So we go to Thailand. We're there for 4 months. I write my book. All this crazy stuff is happening. I'm deciding I kind of don't want to work for Young and Raw anymore, and I really want to start my own company, and I want to do all this stuff. At the same time, Marcus is like interviewing for all these jobs, trying to get into this DevOps field that he really wants to work in, and it's all like going terribly. And so we're there for 4 months. Basically, Marcus can't find a job, and eventually he finds this job, but it's in Montreal, Canada. So we decide, okay, this is what you want. He had been interviewing for jobs in the States, but the requirements for us to go to the States, there were several requirements, and one of them is that he needed to have 3 years experience in his field. And he had exactly 3 years experience, and 3 months of those were an internship. So he basically said, look, I'm not going to fly us all the way back to the state, like back to Canada, to try and cross over into the States, to work in the States, and have them say, look, you don't have 3 months experience, you can't come, and then we don't have a job, and we've flown all the way from Thailand to nothing. So he decides to take this job in Montreal, which is in Canada, so that he can get that 3 months experience, and then we'll go to California from there. Meanwhile, I'm spending every day manifesting Marcus having this job. And at this point I had kind of given up the remote thing, but I had decided, okay, we want this job in California. We want to move to California. So I'm like, every day I'm like manifesting. I'm like visualizing and feeling what it would feel like to be living in California, the salary that we would have, the job that Marcus would have, what my life would look like, what my life would feel like. And I'm feeling it and feeling it and feeling it and feeling it. And then smack dab, we get sent to Montreal, right? Middle of winter, it's freaking cold. I had said I never wanted to do winter ever again. And it was just like, it was insane, okay? So we got sent to the tundra. That's basically what it felt like. And I was working online at the time, so I was working part-time online. So 4 hours a day, I had a job. Marcus goes to work all day, and then I'm basically like hauled up in the house in our apartment in Montreal because it's too cold to go anywhere. I don't speak French. I don't really want to socialize. So basically I spent 3 months sitting in my house in Montreal, meditating and manifesting and feeling what it would feel like to be in San Francisco, to be in working this job, to have this like crazy salary, to like have this experience. And I'm just like visualizing it. And at the same time, I'm like still super attached to Thailand, and I just want Thailand so bad. And so it was, again, it was a very interesting experience. So this was the first time Marcus and I had ever lived by ourselves without Sam, my sister. And we were just like learning a lot about life, learning a lot about everything. We're having these experiences, whatever. Eventually, we get to a place where I'm like, hey Marcus, you said 3 months, it's been 4 months, why aren't you quitting your job? And he kind of was digging his heels in a little bit. He didn't really want to quit his job. He didn't want to have them think poorly of him for basically going there for 3 months and then quitting. So he's digging in his heels, And then one day, we're on the computer together and he gets called into a meeting. And this happens all the time. I don't know why this was weird for me but like he gets called into a meeting and I'm like, well, something's happening. Something is happening here. And I'm waiting for him to come back, waiting for him to come back. He's in this meeting. And eventually, at like noon, he walks in the front door. He's like, hey, babe. And I'm like, oh, hey, why are you here? It's the middle of a work day. Like it was Thursday or something. He's like, yeah, I got laid off. So it turns out that the company was kind of going down and they ended up doing like this massive layoff. They laid off pretty much everybody. And we were like, okay, crazy. So he essentially puts his resume together on a Friday, starts talking to recruiters on a Monday, and by the following Friday, he had been hired to work for a company in San Francisco, making the exact salary that I thought that he would make, and they wanted him here not by the next Monday, but the Monday after that. So we were like, phew, okay, holy smokes. So we break our lease in Montreal, we book tickets, we fly to Calgary to see our parents for a couple of days, we fly to Vancouver to see my sister, and then we're supposed to fly out to San Francisco on May 15th. okay? So we go, and again, during this time, all this crazy stuff is happening. So he needs to have very specific documents in order for us to cross the border, in order for us to apply for this status that he needs for his job. And we're looking for all these documents, and we're making sure we get everything in. He needed to have like an official offer letter from the company that's signed, and not a copy, it has to be the hard copy. So what happened was they tried to FedEx it to us so that it would be there the day before we left. And for some reason, the thing got rerouted to Montreal for no reason. Like, not because we used to live there, just randomly it got rerouted. So we had to call, change our tickets, pay again for completely new tickets. And then we had to show up at the airport at 6 a.m. on the day that we were supposed to fly out, at the FedEx station at the airport, and just hope that the piece of paper got there. So that was crazy. So we're already like freaking out. We're there at the airport. We're standing outside the FedEx station for like 20 minutes. They come, they have the thing, and it's amazing. Okay, so then we're like, great, no problem. So then we are starting to go through security. We do all that thing, check our bags in, and then Marcus goes for his interview for his status. And I'm thinking I can just go through on my own and like on a tourist visa. But first, we're silly. And we booked our tickets together, and so they were like, how many bags did you check? And I said 1, and they're like, well, that's a lie because it says you check 3. And I was like, oh no, 2 of those are my boyfriend's, 1 of them is just mine, don't worry about it, whatever. And long story short, they were like, no, and blah, 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 blah. I don't really have any ties to Canada. They're thinking, so Marcus gets through with his status, no problem, he's checked in to go work. I essentially get corralled and harassed for a few hours in the U.S. Customs border crossing. They almost banned me. They decided not to. They decided they're going to let me go, but I still need to have some papers. So anyways, Marcus ends up going to San Francisco, and I had to wait for an entire month before I could go. So he goes, that happens. I stay with my sister. I do a couple of things with my job. One other thing I should mention is when I was in Montreal, I ended up quitting my job with Young and Raw and starting to work for a whole new company, which was a really huge thing for me. So I'm working for this new company. I'm apart from Marcus for a month. He's in San Francisco starting his new life. I'm in Vancouver staying with my sister. Eventually I get to go to the States. We're there. Yay, great. Then it turns out I'm not allowed to work, so I have to quit my job. So again, this is crazy, right? Like everything that I had kind of built my life on, I had to quit. I had to let go of it. I had to let go of everything. And Marcus was doing his thing. And basically, I'm going to run out of time here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the story here. And I'm just going to say that was crazy, right? So far, getting from Vancouver to San Francisco was a whole bunch of crazy things, right? A whole bunch of awesome things, getting jobs and having these, you know, magical things happen. Essentially, everything that I had manifested for California happened. But it was really stressful and crazy, and a lot of things happened in between Vancouver and San Francisco. So the thing that I learned about manifestation through all this part was that really the key to manifestation is simply feeling what it would feel like to have what you wanted. Okay, so I did this with my body. I've talked about this a lot, right? Did this with my body, did this with Marcus's job, did this with our life. I've done this basically a million times with everything that we've been through, right? And so like at this point, I feel like I'm pretty adept at manifesting. All I really have to do is feel like I already have it. All you really have to do is feel like you already have it. Feel like it's already happening. Feel like you're already there. And just practice that over and over and over again. Don't allow reality to be the thing that dictates how you feel. Allow how you feel, how you want to feel, what you want to have happen to be what dictates how you feel. Okay? So that's part 1 of the story. I guess I'm a little long-winded and I couldn't sum it up in 20 minutes. So that's part 1. I will catch you on the flip side for part 2. Until then, find me on Facebook, Perception Trainers. Find me on Instagram, Ali_Perception Trainers. And let me know about your manifestation stories down below and if this is clicking anything for you. And I will come at you with part 2 next time.